So last week I watched the bisexual episode of Netflix's Pop the Balloon Live, and I mean, I laughed. Like ugly laughed. It was pure queer chaos, fluid flirting and bisexual brilliance. It was unserious in all the best ways possible, and in comparison to the straight episodes, well, no shade, but it was dry. That's all I'm gonna say. Those episodes were dry, and yeah, they just had me thinking, like, what the hell's going on over there? But while I was cackling at the balloons popping and the banter flying, I kept thinking, dating is such a circus. And in 2025, it's giving completely unhinged. It's Wednesdays. Hello, 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 gays, gals, theys, and everyone on the spectrum, off the spectrum, in between, wherever you are. Welcome to yet another episode of Wednesdays with Woody, where we are interrupting you all. This week we're going to make it an average, savage Wednesday to bring you messy stories, mildly coherent thoughts, and the occasional existential crisis or spiral, whichever works for you. So on today's episode, we are asking the question, what does dating look like in 2025? And more specifically, why is dating kind of looking like a hot mess after a one-night stint? If you missed it, Pop the Balloon Live on Netflix had its first all-bisexual episode last week. And baby, it was everything. The banter, snappy. The flirting, fluid. The rejection, flirtatious. The vibes, completely elite. There was an ease to the way people connected, and for once, it didn't feel uptight like everyone was hiding who they were. The energy felt honest, like people were showing up as they are, no masks, no facades, just completely human and completely chaotic. It got me thinking, what if dating actually felt like that more often? Finding another gay man, or I suppose just a man in general, who's emotionally available, not jaded, doesn't live on the apps, and knows how to communicate, cough cough, is like spotting a unicorn doing a shoulder press at Virgin Active. And I say this with complete love. But my gay friends, they're out here flopping in and out of relationships, and really, no judgment. We've all been there, and I completely get it. We live closeted, we come out, we grow. We go through a rotation era, then suddenly we want to settle. But no one wants to stick around long enough to see our baby pictures on our fridge magnets. And the dating pool, from what I hear on these streets, is looking more like a kiddie splash pad, and half of it's filled with ghosting, grinded dick pics, and men who aren't looking for anything serious, but want to move in after the second date. It's a little wild. We have all of this tech, apps, algorithms, astrological compatibility calculators, and somehow we're worse at connecting than ever before. My straight friends, same drama. One said she unmatched a guy because his voice sounded a little too eager. Another left a date early because the guy ordered a milkshake. A milkshake. Babes, like, what is going on? And I get it, we all have standards, but we've all become allergic to inconvenience. The minute it's not a fairy tale, we bounce. And as Kim Kardashian famously said, no one wants to work anymore. Because relationships, they're work. They're messy. They're compromise and communication and showing up even when you're annoyed. frustrated and want to murder your husband for opening the window to let air in on a cold autumn morning, as though we are not already breathing air. I think in 2025, dating has become too capitalistic. Everyone's branding themselves. Everyone is running from the idea of marrying for love. It's money, honey, or nah. Curating, optimizing, we're not even looking for love, we're networking. Swiping for synergy, trying to find someone who fits the vibe but doesn't disrupt the aesthetic. It seems as though most people don't want partners, they want co-founders, content collaborators, someone to match their morning routine and pose for the anniversary carousel. And can we just talk about queer influencer couples? Just for a second. I mean, I really do love that type of lifestyle for them, but sometimes it feels like love is only valid if it's monetized. Soft launches, joint PR packages, couple goals with discounted codes. And I'm not trying to negate this experience. I mean, if that's for you, go off, babe. Do what you gotta do. But everyone seems to now want a soft life kind of love with minimal work and effort. Sometimes I sit back and think, how did we get here? I met Ryan on a gay classified site just as BBM was dying. Romantic, right? No filters, no swipes, just an awkward post and raw vulnerability. Our first date, and I cringe, absolutely cringe at the memory, but it's ours, so I gotta love it, was at McDonald's. The conversation was raw, vulnerable, real. No pretenses, no dolled up looks, no glamour or any of that noise, just us. It was refreshing to have a conversation with a stranger and be able to expose the ugly parts of ourselves to each other. Not the curated garbage and hookup culture I'd been running into for months. By nearly 12 years down the line, we built something real, messy, deep, and completely ours. And I get that dating now is harder. I really do. The options are absolutely endless. I mean, men and women are being tossed like Kleenex. But I wonder if the real problem isn't the options or the algorithm or the apps. Maybe it's the fact that nobody wants to be seen when they're not performing. We're craving intimacy but allergic to exposure. We want love but fear being known. And that's the real heartbreak. A lack of wanting to be vulnerable with others, to show those sensitive spots of ourselves we don't want to tackle. But these are the parts that make us human, make us real. Now, I'm no dating guru, but I have been known to set up a few wildly successful couples in my time. And in talking to friends, queer and straight alike, it's clear you're swimming in the same swamp. Swiping, ghosting, retreating at the first sight of discomfort. So let's pause here and add a little perspective. According to a 2024 study by the Pew Research Center, over 53% of US adults, and yes, a US perspective, but bear with me here please, over 53% of US adults under 40 say dating has become harder in the last 5 years. Among LGBTQIA+ respondents, that number jumps even higher. In fact, a 2023 study by Stanford found that nearly 70% of queer people felt a significant sense of emotional burnout from dating apps. That's not just a flop, that's an epidemic. Women are ghosted more than ever. Hetero men are struggling to express emotional availability, trapped between outdated ideas of masculinity and the pressure to be emotionally evolved, without even having been taught how. Everyone's expectations are high, but no one wants to put in the work, or worse, even show up as themselves. In a weird way, the queer and straight dating scene share the same fracture. Everyone wants connection, but no one wants to be vulnerable first. Straight women are often navigating dating burnout, ghosting, and an overwhelming emotional load. Straight men, Many are lonely, unsure how to communicate, often craving intimacy but fearing rejection. Meanwhile, gay men are navigating hookup culture fatigue, the tyranny of perfectionism, and an unspoken fear that long-term love might not even be realistic in a culture so centered on performance and disposability. Everyone is tired. Everyone is spinning. Everyone seems to be trying to find someone who won't just validate their curated selves, but sit beside them when they're crumbling too. Whether it's on Tinder, on Grindr, Hinge, or Her, the apps might differ, but the ache is universal. Everyone wants to be chosen and seen. So how do we fix this? Well, maybe we don't. But here's what we can do. Show up with a little more humility. Flirt with a little less ego. Lead with honesty over optics. Let people see you. And when the connection feels right, stay long enough to let it bloom. I think we all have this picture of what dating and marriage and building a life with someone should look like. Too many rom-coms, if you ask me. And I myself am so guilty of this. And it's all cute and all, but it's not real. It's not a lived experience. It's content. A movie marketed to sell tickets and make a profit. I feel like we need to be reminded of that often. Many years before I met Ryan, I never wanted to be married. I didn't see the point. I didn't want to be in a relationship. I wanted to conquer the world. Literally. And when I met Ryan, I had no intention of falling for this man. But something happened while we sat in that McDonald's. And it took me a while to accept that. But I had a lot of work to do to unlearn the narrative of what love should look like and what it actually is. A lot to unlearn about building your life with someone. I had to put aside my notions of romance and say to myself, I'm dealing with another human being. This is going to take some work and effort. And it was. Dating, effort. Falling in love with someone, effort. Building a life with someone, effort. Staying in love, effort. It all takes work. But what's the priority to you? I'd be lying to everyone if I said there weren't things I had to give up for this. Things I had to sacrifice for love. Dreams which I had to put to bed because maybe, just maybe, the adventure of falling in love might offer me something different. If you're listening to this and wondering, well, Woody, how? How do I even begin to connect beyond the apps, beyond the facade, beyond the fear? Well, here's what the research says. Brené Brown's work on vulnerability has shown us that real connection only happens when we let people see us. Not the created versions, but the messy, scared, still learning one. In her words, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. According to relationship psychologist Esther Perel, we often confuse intensity with intimacy. A passionate spark might light the fire, but it's consistent vulnerability, the boring, brave kind, that sustains it. If you're dating, one of the most effective practices is simply asking someone how they want to feel in a relationship. Not what they want, not their 5-year plan, but what kind of emotional space they want to inhabit. It disarms the performance and invites the real. So, before you rush to define or dismiss a connection, maybe ask the question, have I actually shown up? Or am I just hoping to be chosen for a version of myself I don't even recognize? Because maybe the biggest love story isn't the one where everything's perfect. Maybe it's the one where two people say, I see you and I'm staying. Because yes, dating in 2025 might be chaotic, but connection, that's still revolutionary. Maybe the real question we should be asking isn't why is dating in 2025 so hard? Maybe it's what kind of love are we even looking for anymore? Because if it's just a vibe match and a real worthy aesthetic, we'll always be disappointed. But if it's softness, effort, and the terrifying beauty of being known, maybe there's still hope. Maybe we're not popping the balloon. Maybe we're just too scared to hold it. This has been Wednesdays with Woody, the podcast where we flirt with big feelings, ghost superficiality, and maybe, just maybe, match with meaning. Until next time, keep swiping, keep loving, stay soft, and remember, not every match needs to be a love story, but connection, that's still worthy of chasing. Till next week, light and love. Ciao.